Hey yogis, how's it going? So welcome to module 3 of our remaining coursework for our study abroad. I hope everyone is doing well. This week we're looking at the remaining yamas from the 8 limb path to yoga, and then we're getting into the niyamas. So just to recap, the yamas again are actions that we do for other people. So I was reading through your responses and watching your videos, and they were fantastic, but I really want to emphasize again that the yamas are not things that we do for ourselves. They're things we do for others. So a lot of you likened ahimsa to eating healthy food to take good care of your body. That's more along the lines of self-care. Eating healthy food is great, and I hope you do that. The yogi's always, paying attention to what he or she eats. But ahimsa might be thought about eating healthy food that's sustainable and good for the environment. So we talked before about how a lot of yogis are vegetarian or vegan, which I am neither, right? So it's not like you have to be vegetarian or vegan to be a yogi, but the yogi is thinking about the ways in which their actions affect the food they eat. So that's why sometimes a lot of yogis are vegetarian or vegan. It's to practice that non-harming or non-violent behavior toward other creatures. So someone like me who is a yogi and does eat meat, my practice of ahimsa would be trying to make sure that I eat meat that's not coming, say, from a factory farm, or that eating food that is, grown through sustainable farming practices, those sorts of things. So the yamas, again, are actions that we do for other people, not for ourselves. Niyamas are things that we do for our own self, not in selfish ways, but just in a way to sort of refine the way we see ourselves as people in the world. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and move into Ashteya. So this is A-S-T-E-Y-A, but it's not Asteya. It's more like Ashteya. There's 3 S's in Sanskrit, so it's Ashteya. And this is non-stealing. So of course, we might think about this in this sense of, I'm not going to go to a store and steal things. That's a nice way to practice Ashteya. But this is really about not taking things from other people. Not, if we think about this in the sense of being a student, right? Not taking other people's ideas and calling them your own. Because that is not good for that other person, right? I mean, yeah, sure, it's not good for you either because, then I have to report you to the dean and you're going to fail. It's not great for you. But it's being kind to that other person and giving them credit where credit's due. In order for us to practice non-stealing, we have to be practicing ahimsa first. So if we're practicing ahimsa, we're automatically going into the other yamas. So that's why ahimsa is always number 1. So non-stealing is not taking things that aren't yours, not stealing ideas from other people, not taking people's time. We talk about this all the time in yoga teacher training. Don't let your classes out late. You're taking their time. It's not, this might move in a little bit more into like a parigraha, but it's not taking more than what you need, right, to survive in this world. So I'm going to switch over to a different screen. So I'm sorry if I look kind of weird not looking at you. But our book says, and this is actually in the intro, non-stealing, the 3rd jewel, guides our attempt and tendencies to look outward for satisfaction. Often our dissatisfaction with ourselves and our lives leads us to the outward gaze with the tendency to steal what is not rightfully ours. We steal from the earth, we steal from others, and we steal from ourselves. We steal from our own opportunity to grow ourselves into the person who has the right to have the life they want. So this is really about not taking what doesn't belong to you. Don't take from the earth what you don't need. Don't take from others what isn't yours. Don't take people's ideas. Don't take their time. Don't take people's money that you don't deserve, right? Let me flip through. Sorry, my book is digital, so I have to flip through, and it's kind of acting a little weird right now. So let me just back up here for you. Sorry. Just give me 1 second to get back to my chapter. And now it's not working. We'll get there later. When I find the quote that I'm looking for, I will send it to you. Oh, wait, I think it's back. Hold on. I'm almost there. Okay, so in our books, it says here that stealing from others An outward focus leads us to compare ourselves to others and to send our energy into their lives in unhealthy ways. When we compare ourselves to others, we find ourselves lacking, which means we somehow feel cheated, or we find ourselves superior, which leaves us maybe feeling arrogant. Our attention on others from a place of discontent within ourselves can lead us to live vicariously through others, or to try to control, manipulate, or manage them in order to boost our own ego. So it's not just about this sense of like taking things, it's also the need to control other people for your own benefit. To be able to let go of that is practicing Ashteya. If you move into the next page, it doesn't tell me what page it's on here, I'm sorry. It says stealing from the earth. Not only do we steal from others, but we steal from the earth. We are visitors here, into the fullest sense of the word. You wouldn't go to a friend's house for dinner, complain about the food, leave your trash lying around, and walk off with the candlesticks because you wanted them. But yet, this is how we treat our world. We are visitors to this land, to our bodies, and to our minds. And so to fully appreciate this reality is to accept that nothing on this physical plane actually belongs to us. And I think that's important to the yogi too, because the yogi isn't really very interested in having things, right? That these things actually don't mean much to us, and they're not really ours to begin with. I mean, this could bring us into like a whole other conversation about like land ownership and this sort of debate. So I'm not saying that you can't have things, right? We are human beings in 2018, and it is fine to have the fruit of your labors for sure. I own property, right? But I also try to be aware of what I do with that property and how I use the land that I quote unquote own, right? Sort of a weird thing to think about. So I don't want to talk too much more about this one because like I said, with the Yamas and Niyamas, I really want these for you just to sort of get the gist of what they mean and then think about it in your own life. So Ashteya is non-stealing. Brahmacharya. So you can say Brahmacharya. This is sometimes translated into no excess, but the root of Brahmacharya is actually sexual restraint. So ancient yogis, they were abstinent. Look, I don't care what you do. Okay, this is all your business. But if we think about the yamas as ways we treat other people, that means that we have to make sure that in terms of brahmacharya, we are treating other people well. It goes right back to ahimsa. So this means that when we're interacting with people in intimate settings, that we respect their bodies, that we respect them as beings of this world, and especially in terms of intimacy. If you head back over into the intro of your book, it also, some people translate brahmacharya a little bit differently because we don't live in a world right now where most people are abstinent. So they look at it in terms of maybe non-excess, which to me might run a little too close to a parigraha, which we'll get to in a minute. Let me go back. I'm sorry, my book is crazy right now. Non-excess. The fourth jewel has been interpreted by many to mean celibacy or abstinence. Although this could certainly be one of the interpretations, its literal meaning is walking with God. And we talked about this in class. God means a lot of different things in yoga, and you can replace that with whatever you want. The ancient yogi was more probably talking about this concept of consciousness. Whatever your beliefs about the divine, this tenet implies an awareness of sacredness in all our actions and an attentiveness to each moment that moves us into a stance of holiness. This personally doesn't speak to me too much. I'll let you decide how you feel about that. But it is this sense that we treat other beings as, divine beings. It's the golden rule. Treat others how you want to be treated. To move on here, it says this, from this place of sacredness, the boundary is set to leave excess behind and live within the limits of enough. If we have been practicing non-stealing, we will automatically find ourselves primed to practice this guideline. And that's what I like about the yamas. If you're doing one, you're automatically doing the other. If you're not stealing, you're not in excess, right? So that makes things a little bit easier. If you look at the teachings of, say, Pattabhi Jois in his book Yoga Mala, he references brahmacharya as a little more about celibacy or sexual restraint. again, yamas and niyamas, these things, the yamas are things we do for other people, but our interpretation of them can sometimes be very personal. So I'm going to leave it at that. And then we'll move into aparigraha, aparigraha. This is non-hoarding. And what I like about this is it's the ability to let go. So if we're already not stealing, then we already are not living in excess, which means we already don't have more than what we need. So again, it just goes right down the line. Our book says that the book calls it non-possessiveness. The fifth jewel and last of the guidelines, known as the yamas, liberates us from greed. It reminds us that clinging to people and material objects only weighs us down and makes life heavy and disappointing. When we practice letting go, we move ourselves toward freedom and an enjoyment of life that is expansive and fresh. So this is really about the ability to not need much and to not keep on to much or hang on to too much. And when we let go, we make space for all the other things in our lives. And you might be thinking, like, how does this apply to other people? And it goes back to that sense of if we're not taking too much, we don't have too much, therefore we're not keeping too much. That gives more room for other people and things in our lives. And by things, I don't mean material things. I mean experiences with other people. It gives more opportunity for us to interact in ways that matter. If we're so bogged down in trying to fill our homes with a bunch of things and trying to fill our egos with a bunch of ideas, we're not making space in our lives for the things that matter the most. So those are the 5 yamas: ahimsa, satya, asteya, brahmacharya, aparigraha, and then we move into the niyamas. So again, the yamas are things we do for other people. The niyamas are things we do for ourselves. And according to the teachings of yoga, the first thing we do is we clean. Saucha. So saucha. It's actually, if to say it correctly, it's shaucha. It's shaucha. I always say saucha because that's how I was originally taught. And then I learned later it's shaucha. So it's shaucha. Shaucha is cleansing. In the book, it refers to this as purity. I don't particularly like that sort of language. I really don't like for us to think about ourselves as impure. That's not really true, right? Do we have misknowings and do we make mistakes in our lives? Yeah, but I don't think we are impure. But just based upon the teachings of ancient yoga philosophy, I will share with you a little bit about what this means. So according to the book, purity is the 6th jewel. It's an invitation to cleanse our bodies, attitudes, and actions. And that's what I really like about it. It's not to suggest that you as a human being are impure. It's to say that we can cleanse our bodies. We can take good care of ourselves. This is where eating good food comes into practice. Eating clean, organic, healthy food, that's saucha. It's cleansing the body. We can cleanse the body through asana practice, right? We can do yoga, or we can go to the gym and we can lift weights, or we can go for a run to take good care of the physical body. That is purifying the body. Or we could do Kapalabhati pranayam, which is, remember that breath, Kapalabhati? Kapalabhati pranayam is one of the Shatkarma Kriyas. It's a cleansing action. We could candle gaze like we did Chataka on the rooftop in Costa Rica. Stare at a candle until your eyes water and then close the eyes. That's a meditative practice, but it's also designed to clean the eyes. So saucha is cleansing your body. It's cleansing your mind in the sense not that your mind is impure, but that controlling your thoughts, not letting anxious thoughts and thoughts of doubt control your day-to-day life. Being in control, knowing what's a real thought and what's just fear, right? That practicing that is a form of saucha. And then it's also cleansing our actions, making sure that the things that we do in the world are good, right? That's it. So it's not impurity in the sense of like you're a bad person. It's more along the lines of how can we just feel our best in the effort to do our best. So saucha, just continuing on here, it asks us to clean up our act so we can be more available to the qualities in life that we are seeking. This precept also invites us to purify how we relate to what is uppermost in the moment. It is the quality of being aligned in our relationship with others, with the task at hand, and with ourselves. It's pretty good. It's being able to show up for your life. When you don't feel good in your body, you can't show up for your life. That's pretty important, you know? So that's just a start. So we got yamas, things we do for other people. Niyamas, things we do for ourselves, right? We're not alone in this world, so we have to do things for other people to make sure we're in right relation. But then we also have to do things for ourselves to be able to be in right relation. And what's really important here is that these fall in within the 8-limb path of yoga. But the 8 limbs of yoga did not have to be done in that particular order. If you look at a list, pardon me, the ragweed is just killing me over here. If you look at a list, yamas are always first, niyamas, asana, pranayama, pratyahara. It goes in this particular order. But it does not have to be performed in that particular order. So some people, for example, Ayurvedic practitioners, they generally take care of their own bodies first because they believe, hey, if you're not feeling good in your body, you can't show up for any other endeavor in your life. Other yogis say, okay, in order for me to be able to feel good in my body, I've got to do good for other people first. It's a matter of preference, right? It's what works for you. So I don't want you to feel like you have to go out and do all these yamas and do all these things for other people. And then when you get that right, tend to your own needs. It's not like that, right? It can be done in any order and it changes from day to day. Some days, I just feel like I need to go for a run. My body is not feeling right today. So that's what I do. And generally after I run or if I exercise, I feel a little bit more apt to be able to do the other things in my day. You also don't have to do all of these all the time. They will start to fall in place because, again, when you do one, the next one sort of happens on its own. But what I like to do is I like to pick one and work with it for a little bit. So sometimes I'm like, all right, Saucha. And I clean. I clean my body. I clean my house. I clean my office. I clean my car. I get my whole physical world in some sense of right order so I can focus on the other things. And I'll focus on Saucha for a month, right? And then later I'll be like, okay, Parigraha. I'm working on that right now. So there's no right or wrong to this. It's a matter of exploration to see how these things play out in your life. And that's what we'll be doing for your assignment is we'll be setting some goals and intentions for the yamas. And eventually we'll get into more of the niyamas. But for right now, we'll start with the yamas, even though we've done one niyama. But until then, I think that's enough. I think the best practice is for you to figure this stuff out for yourself. Some of the language in the Yamas and Niyamas, An Ethical Practice to Life, the book that we're using, doesn't really speak to me personally. A lot of the language of the divine, so to speak, I don't actually really resonate with that much. But you can replace that with what works for you. It could be consciousness. It could be awareness. If you have a particular religious practice, you could replace it with whatever the right language is for that practice. It could be nothing, right? It's really up to you how you want to read that. The yoga practice is yours. It's personal. It's the relationship with yourself and how that plays out in the rest of the world. So you get to make of it what you will. All right, guys, that's all I got for you. I will talk to you in our next module. Hopefully I'll see you before. Have a great day. Bye.